Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and I'm the programs manager at the Asian American Writers Workshop. And this is Mouth to Mouth, one of the longest running programs here at AAWW, centering queer, trans, and biopic artists. And we are here celebrating Pride with these amazing features. Before I introduce them and I pass you off to our lovely host, Kay, a little bit about the workshop. For 30 years, the Asian American Writers Workshop has amplified the voices of Asian American writers. It has done so from a position of radical inclusivity. And what that means is expanding the definition of not only what it means to be a writer, but also what it means to be Asian American. We are also joined today by our friends at Pro Bono ASL, a fantastic organization that provides interpretation for American Sign Language. Our features today are the brilliant Jas Hammonds, Jubi Arriola-Headley, Lamya H, and Kay, as well as on Duplan, I believe. And now I will pass you off to our brilliant host, Kay. Kay Ulanday Barrett is a poet, essayist, cultural strategist, and A+ napper. They are a recipient of the Foundation for Contemporary Arts Cy Twombly Award for Poetry. They have attended residences at Tin House, Malay Arts, Baldwin for the Arts, Macondo, and MacDowell. Their work has been published in the New York Times, Lit Hub, the Hopkins Review, Brevity, and more. Their book, More Than Organs, was a 2021 Stonewall Honor Book and 2021 Lambda Literary Award finalist. Welcome, Kay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Happy June. Happy Pride. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you, AAWW. Thank you, Pro Bono, for having us and hosting us. Feel free to utilize the chat, y'all. So tell us, Jubi, the feature's like, Kay, feel free to tell us where you're coming from, where you're checking in. My name is Kay Ulanday Barrett. I am, as an image description for you, I'm a light brown, round, Filipinx queer person. I have short black hair. I have tortoise shell glasses and a black and white keffiyeh. Behind me is a white background of doors. Yeah. And I can't tell you how excited I am for Jas, Jubi, Lamya. You all are in for the biggest treat. And thank you, everybody who wanted to go to a virtual Pride event. I see a lot of people and familiar faces in the chat, some Filipino flags, some happy prides. Thank you. Shout out to the Bay Area. Please also share what kind of writing you do and what you might be interested in hearing in the future. So just to let you know, Mouth to Mouth is usually a bi-monthly open mic, and we feature primarily Black, Indigenous, and or people of color, queer, trans, and non-binary writers of all genres. Yeah. So to kick us off, I would love to start off with a poem. If you know Pride and you know slam, we do the sacrificial poet, so I shall be that guy. And I'm going to do a cover poem by a wonderful Palestinian queer femme writer and poet, Majduleen Shomali. And the poem is, I Keep Waking Up in America. I Keep Waking Up in America by Majduleen Shomali. Right now, I'm eating an egg sandwich my baby made. She fluffs the yolks with sour cream, sprinkles the scramble with chives. She layers sausage on a brioche bun and brings it to my desk, where I sink into the internet and consume crises. If complaining were my job, I'd get promoted. I sip coffee and swallow everything without tasting. Right now, the cats are sleeping in my bed. The dog, too. They're only peaceful when they are sleeping. Interspecies conflict is nothing compared to how the cats spar with one another. I'm telling you about my cats because I think hating cats is sexist, and I'm tired about hearing about dogs and men. Right now, my sisters are at work. A nonprofit director, a chemist, an editor walk into a refugee camp, a lab, an office. My brother climbs poles for AT&T, but I still can't get free Wi-Fi. My father goes to physical therapy. Sometimes a therapist tries to assess his mental faculties. This means she asks him banal questions like, what is the year? And my mother wishes it was 74, but knows it's not. Right now, my ancestors are dead and my progeny are imaginary. Right now, I am the future they never imagined. Right now, I cannot imagine a future. Right now, my cousins can't come to this country. Right now, my countries are soaked in blood. Right now, the sun is shining and the breeze is gentle. Right now is passing into right after. Right before the end, I try beginning. Thank you so, so much. Again, shouts out to Mesjaleen Shomali on that poem, yeah? So we're gonna move, how many people, let's see in the chat, how many people have attended Mouth to Mouth or our Pride Showcase before? All right, then you all are up for a beautiful treat. Yeah. Our next reader and beautiful feature is Anaïs Duplan. Duplan is a trans poet, curator, and artist. He is the author of book I Need Music by Action Books from 2021, a book of essays, Black Space on the Poetics of an Afro Black Ocean 2020, which is just incredible, by the way. Please pick it up. And a full-length poetry collection, Take This Stallion, from Brooklyn Arts Press 2026, and a chapbook, Mount Carmel and the Blood of Parnassus, Monster House Press 2017. He is a professor of post-colonial literature at Bennington College and has taught poetry at the New School, Columbia University, Sarah Lawrence College, among others. He is also a marvelous independent curator who's worked at the Museum of Modern Art and the Studio Museum in Harlem. Amazing accolades. Please look him up. We'll put up a link in his website in the chat. Give it up for Anaïs Duplan.
Thank you, Kay. That was such a wonderful introduction. And I'm happy to be with everyone tonight for this Pride event. So I will just read some poems. I got some poems that are on the older side. It's nice to go back to some old work. So I'll start with one from Mount Carmel and the Blood of Parnassus. I am always too moody for the party. I talked to Ryan about this, and we can talk about this endlessly. That is because Ryan is a good man with a good sense of the sentence. I told Ryan at the barbecue and so on, and that's how it is. I said, you've always got to keep on going until you're dead, and when you die, some folks will give a hoot and some others will give great hoots. Still, others will fall somewhere in the middle. You will possess no great works. Where does something fall when it falls? In the middle, it falls all around us at night in strides. I had a feeling in the fingers the other day. They weren't my fingers. I told Dr. Adelson about it. I told him for the second or even the third time. I felt so dejected. I fell into a hole. At the bottom of the hole, my mother was there. She was peeling carrots. She was married to Rebecca, who had given her many great children. This is from my first book of poems, Take the Stallion, an account of a child born alive without a brain. I wept for the suffering of dolphins. By that I mean the cicadas. By that the rained over slices of bread On the gravel, the birds that mistake car antenna for homes. Do you recall the words that God said? No. How could you? It was all in tongues and arms and legs. It was all in those children's hearts, the screamers, no more solutions, only this, my severed arms. Someone has severed me for stealing the merchant's peaches. Someone has hanged me on a public street for slander. A common mishearing, I said, there is no hair on the moon, and they heard, the tribunal heard, there is no end to your hunger and fasting and fastening the rope. The reaper told me, the mechanic told me to smile. I did, and he showed me his tongue. This next poem is written, I kind of want to say in conversation with Tracy Morris, which is sort of literal in that I wrote it based on an interview with Tracy that I did. And so the language in the poem is language that comes from that, stuff that I said and stuff that she said. It's called How Is That Possible? Even New Yorkers are like, you talk fast, you walk fast, which is always going to rhyme with evil or dark or black magic, black market. I don't think Du Bois was magically thinking. I don't think Malcolm X was magically thinking. Barbecue culture is its own particular subset, like beef patties is its own particular subset of food stuff. I guess I do. You might see how my lips are moving. This feels like the poem of a nightlife personality, the moment. My dog is crying, hold on. She wanna be part of it. This feels like the poem of a nightlife personality, the moment, the natural dynamism of the city. It would be better if we were just at a barbecue. I can't jump out of my body or its relationships. Oh, we just really get along. That this all ends in sociality. There can be these unintended consequences of empathy. Oh, love is easy, like you said. We don't talk about that, the knowledge that our relationship to human kindness, human beingness, the society, the self precedes us. The city's pace has slowed, I think, over quarantine, but its energy is still high. There's this joke in Haiti when you're a baby and your parents want you to shut up, they hand you a mango. Everything in New York is a little faster than it is. I didn't know what to expect when I stepped out the door. Do I see that world, or maybe a person who can illuminate that world for me? Maybe I'm wrong, and this isn't a sufficient response to the situation. It's not a psychological process. It's not the energy of stress, it's the energy of habit. In this change in perspective, I don't only leave my individual oppressions, I leave my joys, my preferences, my qualities, my memories. If people in New York are saying, I walk fast, I guess I do. The specificities of what I am fall into the background. Do you feel that? When you go between New York and Iowa, what are people responding to? The danger which has made them brave. I do have that speedy New Yorker thing. The speed of concentration, speed of energy. I don't think Fannie Lou Hamer was magically thinking. It's fine. I'm fine. Mangoes are cut up into little squares. This idea of novelty or making something new again, taste and smell as a way of hacking into memory a little bit more. I think about the experience of awareness that is pre-verbal and comes before my understanding of myself, if this can indeed be done. Psychological freedom is, as far as I can tell, a lifelong process of healing and grounding. How is that possible? And could you keep it safe? Talking to you is easier. I'm looking at you and there's this beautiful color palette you have going on with your brown shawl, and then the frame of the picture behind you. Oh, I see this person. I can't leave my body behind. So I configured something new out of what I brought in my heart and mind when I had nothing else I could bring. Okay. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Please give a big round of applause in the chat for An. Thank you so much, interpreters, for doing the lifting. All right, let's soak that in, soak that in. We got some hearts, gorgeous, beautiful. Excellent. Beautiful. So, all right, that's how we go. We're going to start. And we did that. Let's go to our next reader, a personal favorite of mine. We have coming up fiction writer Jas Hammonds. Let's read this bio. Jas Hammonds, she was raised in many cities and between the pages of many books. They have received support from their writing from the Highlights Foundation, Baldwin for the Arts, and more. They're also a grateful recipient of the MacDowell James Baldwin Fellowship. Their best-selling debut novel, We Deserve Monuments, please get it, pretty brilliant, won the 2023 Coretta Scott King John Steptoe Award for New Talent. Their second novel, Thirsty, was a Junior Library Guild's Gold Standard selection. She currently lives in New Jersey. Everybody, please give some love and goodness to the beautiful Jas Hammonds.
Hi, thank you all so much for having me. It is my first time performing at Mouth to Mouth, and I'm so nervous, but also really excited. So thank you all for letting a young adult writer hang out with you all this evening. So my name is Jas Hammonds. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. For visual reference, I am a mixed race Black and white person with green glasses and curly, wavy brown hair with bangs. I'm wearing a blue floral button-up shirt. I'm the author of the young adult novels We Deserve Monuments, which is here, and Thirsty. And just for some context, Thirsty is about an 18-year-old girl named Blake who is trying to gain admittance into an elite sorority this summer before college. Blake is from a working class background in the glittery, wealthy world she's trying to inhabit brings her a lot of social anxiety. And one of the ways she deals with that is alcohol. This book is about the things and the people that we lose ourselves in. I wrote it when I was grappling with my own unhelpful relationship with alcohol. And I know it's Pride Month, and a lot of queer people, you know, we like to celebrate it at the bar and with a lot of drinking. And my hope is just that Thirsty adds to the conversation, particularly about queer young people and addiction and mental health without coming across as didactic and shaming. So this is the first chapter of the novel Thirsty. I loved the sound of my own name. Dance with me, Blake. It wasn't vanity, not entirely. Blake. Hearing my name reminded me I was here. I existed. I had a witness, and it felt good to be seen. I love you, B. My girlfriend's breath was hot in my ear. We were dancing. I loved dancing with Ella Spencer, this gorgeous statue of a girl who only had eyes for me. She was electric, and so was I. We were Blake and Ella, Ella and Blake, the couple Lansdowne High voted most likely to still be together in 10 years for yearbook senior superlatives. Only 10 years. A decade sounded insulting when the honor was first bestowed. We were going to last forever. I just knew it. We were on Josiah Winter's yacht, Bite Me. I didn't know what time it was. The string lights looked pretty, and so did my girlfriend, my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. Someone handed me a drink and I downed it without asking what was in it. It was pink and it was pretty. What more did I need to know? I was here and everything was good. Someone shouted over the music, "You aren't going to fucking believe this!" Josiah, loud ass Josiah. Ella and I swayed toward the knot of our coworkers clustered around the bar, and there was Roxanne Garcia glowing under a crystal chandelier. She grinned at me over a martini glass like the Cheshire Cat. She was so pretty, she made my teeth hurt. Mr. Peterson hosted a costume party on his boat last weekend, and he showed up in blackface, Josiah said, and declarations of "shut up" and "I know you fucking lying" exploded from the group like confetti. Ella snaked an arm around my waist, and I sank into her, my beautiful girlfriend, who chose me. Josiah had evidence. He airdropped it to the entire party so we could see. When Ella opened it, she laughed and called him an asshole. But when I saw the photo, my anger was scarlet and slingshot fast. I hated the Petersons. I served Mr. Peterson and his miserable, entitled family all the time at the Snack Attack Shack. More than once, he'd snapped his fingers to get my attention because he didn't know my name. I hate him, I spewed, tossing my phone onto the bar with a clatter. He's such a racist piece of shit. Someone, someone, the room swayed. Someone should teach him a lesson. Uh-oh, Ella said. Big Bad B's coming out. You know what's even better than the sound of your own name? A nickname someone created just for you. I love it when Big Bad B comes out, Josiah cheered, his pale cheeks ruddied from wine. Who's Big Bad B? Someone asked. How could they not know? I sashayed around the bar and plucked the cotton candy vape out of my best friend Anetta's hand. She muttered, "Not like I was using that," when I took a giant hit. I looked so cool. I am Big Bad B, I declared through a cloud of sweet smoke. The crowd cheered, "B, B, B," but all I heard was me, me, me. I was in the bathroom, swirling like I was going down a drain. I grabbed the sink for balance and my eyes snagged on the girl in the mirror. She looked so good. Wild black curls, straight white teeth, smoky eye makeup that hadn't budged all night. No more little Blake. This was Big Bad B. "I'm so sexy," I purred, grabbing my chest and shimmying my shoulders. Someone giggled. A toilet flush and Ella, my beautiful girlfriend, just in case you needed a reminder, joined me at the mirror. She'd been here the whole time. "Yeah, you are," she said, running her tongue along her bottom lip. Her mouth was grenadine red. Inside the golf cart bay. It was hot. Summers in Virginia were always so damn hot, even at 2 in the morning. What time was it? Who knew? Who cared? Not me, Big Bad B. I was drinking something fruity. Watermelon? No, grapefruit. "You should chill," Anetta said. She was always popping up like some overbearing whack-a-mole just when the party was getting good. Ella came over with a frosty bottle of rum and topped me off. "She's fine, Nettie. My bumblebee needs her nectar." I sipped and winked at Anetta. Buzz, buzz, bitch. Someone mentioned Frank Peterson again, and I got riled up again and told everyone how much I hated him again. When I turned around, Roxanne Garcia was there. Somehow she was always there. "You know, Blake." My name fell from her pink painted lips like scribbled cursive, impressive for just one syllable. The Serena Society fiercely condemns racism and anti-Blackness in all its forms. I knew. Of course I knew. I wanted to be a Serena Society girl so bad it took everything in me to not throw myself at her feet right then and there. I nodded like a hungry disciple. Roxanne's mouth slid into a pout. So what are you going to do about it? This is where things got hazy. Outside, the parking lot. It was so hot. Asphalt sizzled beneath my feet. Why was I barefoot? Tunnel vision. I was searching for something. I had a feeling I know what it was when I found it. Alcohol surged through my body, propelled me forward. At my back, a chorus line. Big bad bee, big bad bee. A heavy paint can, hot tin, liquid gold. It was in my hands and the lid was off. It was in my hands and my palm was bleeding, but I didn't care. I was Big Bad Bee. A desperate hunt, the wooden dock groaning beneath my feet. So much laughter. I was the reason. Who wants to see me fuck up this white man's boat? Their cheers lit me up from the inside, and there it was, that feeling. I was glitter and whiskey and audacity. I was that bitch. A symphony of encouragement. Only one dissenter. This isn't a good idea. Blake, stop. Roxanne's laughter drowned everything. She was the president of the Serena Society and she was happy. Whatever she wanted, I'd do. I lifted the paint can over my head. My target, Frank Peterson's yacht, La Dolce Vita. I flung the can with everything. Yellow paint, a neon swirl lighting up the night, spraying and splattering across pristine white. Yo, Blake's fucking wild, bro. Big bad bee, big bad bee. I loved the sound of my own name. Thank you so much to AAWW, as well as Pro Bono and Kay for hosting this lovely event.
Hey, y'all, please give it up for Jas Hammonds. Right? So let's read some of the comments. We've got, please tell me you're making an audiobook. Oh my God. Jubi has a black fist up. Somebody, Fabliha really liked buzz, bitch. Oh my OMG. People like that line. Big Bad Bee is my type of pettiness, says Tara. So there you go. Here we are with Jas Hammonds. Loved how it was all brolic. And then, hi, thank you so much, AAWW and Pro Bono. Contrast. So our next reader is a gorgeous writer and poet. All we have is gorgeousness tonight, y'all. You have so blessed. We are so blessed. This next poet is somebody I know both Jas and Jubi from Lambda Literary. Jubi and I were, I was old, 2017 fellows at the Lambda Literary Fellowship in Poetry, and he is dynamite. So here we go. Jubi Arriola-Headley, pronouns he, him, is a Black queer poet, storyteller, first generation United Statesian, and the author of 2 collections of poems, Original Kink, Sibling Rivalry Press 2020, the recipient of the 2021 Housatonic Award, and his most recent, which is gorgeous, Bound by Persea Books 2024. He's currently at work on a collection of essays, an excerpt of which received the 2023 First Pages Prize for Creative Nonfiction. Jubi lives with his husband in South Florida on ancestral Tequesta, Miccosukee, and Seminole lands. Everyone, please give it up for the wonderful Jubi.
Thank you for that amazing introduction, Kay. It's just always so wonderful to be in the company of writers and artists. And the hard part about only one of us being highlighted on screen at a time is you can't see when I feel the heartbreak in your writing, and you can't see when, Jas, I almost spit out my tea at one or more of your lines. It's just a pleasure to be here. Thank you, AAWW, for the opportunity. I am he, him, pronoun-wise. I am brown, I am chubby, I have a salt and pepper beard, which is a lot more salt nowadays than pepper. And I'm wearing a blue tank top. Behind me is a very carefully curated but rather dull backdrop of tan curtains and some bamboo poles, and then some green things shooting up on the right of my head. I'm so happy to be here in the company of these amazing artists, like I said, and I'm feeling a little sassy. I think I'm going to read 2 poems for y'all tonight. The first one was inspired because I came across a picture of Frida Kahlo and Josephine Baker in intense conversation. I guess the picture would have been sometime in the late 30s or early 40s. I don't know the exact date of the picture, but obviously, when somebody sees a picture of Frida Kahlo and Josephine Baker looking like they are intently discussing something with each other, they write a poem called Queer Fan Fiction, Frida and Josephine at La Casa Azul. Josephine slays for days, lays the rhythmic glyph of her across the cool saltillo floor, coaxes her toes into a perfect on point, tucks the world behind her eyes, says, cast me however you will. Frida forgets every fickle bit of man or metal that ever pierced her, drops to her brittle knees. Her hands, too, fall, unable to resist the pull of gravity to Josephine's errant belly. There, Frida lazy traces circle after flawless circle. Josephine giggles, forgets to tot like she's expected to. Her breath expands, rises to meet the hardened tips of Frida's paint-stained fingers. I've never met a canvas that would not respond to touch, Frida whispers. Josephine begins to sing. Wanting you is my offense. You have all the evidence. Now I wait for you to sentence me. Death, Frida thinks. Death by 1,000 blisses. Frida reads like a book to Josephine, who lifts a single finger, says everything she needs to with a hook. Come. So I tend to have stories behind my poems, but the story of this poem is when I was young, it was many, many moons ago when some of the people on this Zoom tonight may not have yet been born. And back in the day, the ways in which queer men interacted sometimes involved scouring parks and other questionable locations late at night. And that's kind of the premise of this poem, and the title of which is Midnight Mass, Prospect Park, Brooklyn. Once I found salvation under the canopy of an oak tree. Once, long past the half-light, I learned what it means to stand dead center in the spiral, to subscribe to an astronomical model in which I am the sun. Once the moon, seduced, lost all sense of proportion and lusty, spread the leaves of that sheltering oak to limn me in silver leaf, as if to myth me, to render me liquid, shape-shifting, to reflect the wonder of me back unto me was the point of its being. Once their offspring, the sons of the oak and the moon and the night, were called to my glistening, stiffened by the thick of me. There, then, limbs slick with want, we cupped the sublime in ourselves and each other. I don't know if I had said I was feeling sassy at the beginning of this. It seems, if I'm counting time right, I may have a couple more minutes, so I'm going to close out with a poem from a series I wrote called Pleasure Insurrections. And this one is called Pleasure Insurrections 3. I know you'll call me a trickster, slick as if that's an icky thing to be, but I swear on each of my stifled desires, in my immediate last life, I was a banana slug. Skin the color of spun sunshine, 10 inches long where it counted. What would you not give to be thus endowed? Yet, possessed of many genders, of lusts I'm afraid yet to name. When bent, sure, I could get myself off, but I've always preferred the touch of another. I phrase it in the singular, so you won't think me a slithering thing. I know what I am. In our pursuit of the fruit, we take the form of matter and myth. Let time be swallowed by the light, order by chaos, conviction by doubt, entering each other as if we were not impossible. We are. I typically don't apologize for my proselytizing, but forgive me this. Before we search for signs of life on other planets, before we stipulate that there are white people in the future, how about we situate ourselves in the now? I am hungry for this day. Thank y'all so much.
Okay, Jubi all the time. Let's give it up, please, for Jubi. Let's get into some of those comments right there. What do we got? Yes, banana slug. We got some double eyes. Give it up for queer slugs. Paolo jokes, any agents in the audience waiting for the singing contract for Jubi? Also, there is that link. Please get bound. Please get it. An amazing book, yeah? Thank you so much for sharing those queer histories. Everybody is just queer and trans living it up. And we are not done yet. We still have this reader, this wonderful gift. Please, everyone, welcome a beautiful writer and a lovely person. Please let's all welcome Lamya H. Lamya H is a former Lambda Literary Fellow whose writing has appeared in Vice, Salon, Autostraddle, the Los Angeles Review of Books, and others. Her memoir, Hijab Butch Blues, yes, was awarded a Stonewall Book Award and the Brooklyn Public Library Book Prize. Shout outs to Brooklyn. They currently live in New York with their partner and rambunctious toddler. Everybody give it up, send love in this chat and goodness for our final reader, Lamya H.
Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to be reading here today. For a visual description of myself, I have my camera off because I write under a pseudonym. So I do virtual events only with camera off and just audio. And my pronouns are she and they. I'm going to be reading the first chapter or part of the first chapter from my book, Hijab Butch Blues, which is a memoir in which I retell stories from the Quran as queer brown immigrant narratives and intersperse them with stories from my own queer brown immigrant life. So in this chapter, in the section that I'm going to read, I have been reading about, I've been in Quran class, I'm 14 in high school, and I'm living in a country in the Middle East, and I feel like I don't belong. And I've just read the story of Maryam, also known as the Virgin Mary, in Quran class, and there's this moment in which she has talked and raged at God about wanting to die as she's giving birth to Jesus/Isa, and I've just like it's really touched me in ways that I had never thought I would be moved by. So here goes. All week after reading about Maryam wanting to die, I look forward to the next Quran class. I'm jittery as the time approaches and eager to start walking to the language lab. As usual, my class of 22 girls whittles down to a little more than half as we wind our way through the school building to the annex on the other side of campus. The other girls are unhurried when we get there. They take their time choosing seats and chattering and settling, but I'm fast. Notebook out, pen out, headphones on, ready to start the lesson. I'm jumpy, hyper aware of everyone and everything, anxious that I'm being transparent, that everyone can tell that I'm craving the next installment of the story of Maryam, that I'm leaning in so as to not miss a word, that I'm grasping at everything I can learn about this woman who complains to God and wants to die. But today is a review lesson, the Quran teacher tells us, to prep for our midterm the week after. I'm devastated. I'll have to wait an entire week to know what happens next while we recap the 30 or so verses we've already read, and then review the recitation, the hard words, and the English translation for our upcoming test. Someone in the front row starts reading the beginning of the surah aloud, and I sigh, slip into my usual half-listening mode. I nudge my best friend sitting next to me and ask to borrow her multicolored pens for doodling. Then someone reads the translation of these verses aloud. And mention in the book the story of Mary when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east, and she took in seclusion from them a screen. Then we sent to her our angel, and he represented himself to her as a well-proportioned man. She said, "Indeed, I seek refuge in the most merciful from you, so leave me if you should be fearing of Allah." He said, "I am only the messenger of your Lord to give you news of a pure boy, Jesus." She said, "How can I have a boy while no man has touched me?" I stopped. Stop doodling, stop calculating how many minutes till the end of class, stop thinking about the bag of chips in my backpack, stop breathing for a second, my body caught in a moment of clarity that shoots through me and suspends my thoughts. My arm raises seemingly of its own accord, and before I'm aware of making any conscious decision, I'm speaking, my voice higher than usual and breathless. Miss, did Maryam say that no man has touched her because she didn't like men?" There is a pause. 2 seconds of shocked silence before my classmates break into titters. Some roll their eyes. This sounds a lot like one of my infamous questions that derailed the class, and some of my classmates are annoyed that I've interrupted their get-out-of-jail-free summary of the classes they've skipped and the things they need to know for the midterm. But I'm grateful, so grateful for the tittering. It conceals my earnestness, and I'm thankful for my earlier antics that I get to play it off as a moment of clowning instead of the sincere, burning question it actually is. I just want to know, is this a thing? Are there other women like me who don't like men, who would tell a handsome, well-proportioned man angel who appeared before them to go away, who have never been touched by men, who don't want to be touched by men? The Quran teacher, a matronly Sudanese woman in her 60s who has always been kind to me, doesn't seem to read anything into my question and mercifully does not skip a beat in her answer. "No," she says, "it's because Maryam had taqwa. She had God consciousness in its highest state of being. It's because Maryam was pious and loved and feared God. She knew that the divine was watching her, even if no one else was around, knew that the presence of God was everywhere, even if she couldn't see God. Maryam didn't want the privacy of her temptation to tempt her into doing something with this beautiful man, something God wouldn't be happy with. Isn't that an excellent lesson to learn, girls? Don't ever forget that God is watching. When you're around boys, God is always watching. If you're alone with a boy, God is watching. If it's just the two of you somewhere, then God is a third. Remember Maryam, girls. Maryam turned to God. She asked the man to go away because she had taqwa. But I know differently. Maryam is a dyke. Isn't it obvious? Doesn't it make sense? She lives alone in a mosque with no one else around, no one to monitor what she does or whom she meets up with, and not a person in the world for company. One day, a handsome and well-proportioned man comes to her door unannounced. No one will know if he stays a while. No one will know what they do together. But before he can even talk, Maryam asks him to leave. "No, thank you," she says. "Please don't talk to me." She would rather have her solitude than the company of this handsome man. Eventually, she lets him stay, but only because he says he's an angel. She hears him out because he's an emissary from God. Laughs heartily when he tells her she's going to have a baby. "Who, me?" she says. No man has ever touched me. No man. And I know she was pious. I know she was always aware that God was watching. But there's no hesitation, not even for a second, when she turns him down and bars him from her space. It must be because Maryam doesn't like men. Not handsome ones, not well-proportioned ones. These things don't even register for her. No man has ever touched her, she says. She hasn't let them. She hasn't been interested. Maryam is a dyke. Or maybe she isn't. Who knows? Dyke isn't even part of my vocabulary at 14, and maybe I'm reading too much into the story that has been around for 1400 years. But what I do know is this. Maryam is something, somehow like me. I feel different that day after Quran class. Relieved at first, after the embarrassment dies down, after I'm done playing off the question as intentional, after I'm done receiving high fives in the hallways from my classmates for my joke. I'm relieved that no one has caught on, and I'm relieved that I'm not the only one like this. And after this relief comes elation. There are other women like me in the Quran, women who are uninterested in men, who feel born wrong, living lives that are entirely out of their control. Women who rage to God no less about wanting to die. Thank you.
Everyone, please give a round of applause to Lamya. So beautiful. Let's look at this chat. We've got beautiful heart, Jubi heart. Jimena sends a heart. T. Palacio says, I love the connections about dyke relations surrounding Maryam. All right, so beautiful. Tara says, the thinking about thinking is so relatable. Everybody, it is so good. Just relive my own queer awakening in your words. Wow, thank you. Everyone, give all the features a big round of applause. So before we head out, I've got one closing poem, and then just as etiquette around these parts, we keep the chat box and the room open for 5 minutes after our event ends. So it's just not an abrupt shutdown. You know, we don't slam no doors at LGBTQ people. We're open. So this last poem is called The End of the World Means Trans Boys Sprout from Sequence. And it's about trans people in beauty pageants. The last time he wore a dress, he felt sequins were snake. Blood of an artery rippled, or was it coward? And you could hear the storm of him, bedazzled in sparkles. Did I mention he was just 15? His mom organized the beauty pageant, summoned doctors and engineers for her barangay. Her blue collar made worthy among them if she just worked harder. He felt their eyes sliver to his confused body. Boy bested by lipstick, boy, BOI, with flowers, boy with crested wings for wavy hair, and to think, what is a petticoat but a gate, a cloud of taffeta, a new orbit? Imagine him then, a dare to be cumulus. Here, for one night, he'll be reckless in the sky, and there no one is smug or ashamed. They'll think him a queen, but under the dress, he opts for starshine. Yes, royal, instead a prince, whose laugh, juggernauts, rolls over in thunderclap. The mist of him barrels over the hotel ballroom, draped in white tablecloth, and according to the organization's treasurer, whose lipstick glimpsed of blackberries, she saw parables of light, gold, boundless beams silked over stage at the sight of his smirk. A parade of high-heeled drag queens and trans titas emerged. Garlands of hot pink, of seafoam blue, flounce soliloquies and lip-synced to 90s R&B classics. Next, boys with eyeshadow-adorned leather, which gilded their riverbed chests. Bantam boys heaved pages of poems over the chandeliers, stanzas like confetti. How might Dito's toupees transmute to a dervish of kites, glitter enveloped? At this point, a hotel manager has called the police. And as a turn of events, the security swiftly intercepted, danced to the music of high heels, WGN News at 9, ushers an anchor who outs herself as trans to say her name like full sugar bite in jubilation. The freedom to name herself to thousands gets rejoiced in the rain. She puts on her favorite wig, no fear. Parloristas crest on the main stage in applause. To find flesh, to revel in bashful blush, to know that splendor doesn't have to be tsunami. Instead, dozens of aunties sob tears of relief, kicking off their own pumps, giving the queens a blessed offering. And the dance floor, well, oof, that's just an altar. To have been there is to celebrate the spectacle of breath, the act of knowing that the carceral is not everything, that in fact, beloveds, we can take it away. Be brazen bouquet. Be new. Thank you so much, AAWW. Let's please, in the window, give a big shout to our features. We have we have Jas, Jubi, Lamya. Check out those links right there. I also want to give some queer lineage, some queer performance lineage to T. Tran Lee, who's also in the crowd, who ran this showcase for 10 years, every Pride. So give them big props. And to Muhammad and Fabliha for hosting us at AAWW. Give some props to the beautiful interpreters. Thank you so much, pro bono. And you all please have a safe and beautiful, kind Pride. Have snacks, hydrate, stay at home if you wanna pet your cats, no? Of course, thank you for organizing. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna be in the chat with you. We can just do a little chit chat hubbub for about 5 minutes and then we'll close up. Please take care, friends. Thank you, Jenna and Sarika, for all your time.